Hey folks, Steve here with another Axis Empires Ultimate Edition Fall of France training scenario video. This will get us into the summer months. Depending on how fast I play, we may get through the rest of the scenario here. Just depends on how much I decide to show on camera and how much I'm yakety-yakking talking. Previous video, we went through the mud turn, which really did not incentivize us to do much in the way of operations. But now we are at a new season, and the weather will be nice and fine the rest of the way through, and so we'll be able to ideally execute well as the Germans. Now, I've really appreciated the comments that folks have been leaving along the way. It has really helped me learn and helps to sanity check the things that I'm doing or the suboptimal play. Someone did point out that, had I left, one of these hexes open and let's say, let's just do this, right? This is maybe what I would have done. Now we could put our reinforcements in here a little more cleanly for operations, and it's like, man, that's a really smart thing to have done. And I'm kind of stuck deciding whether or not I'm going to allow it to fix that mistake. Like, I guess the Germans had a whole turn that they could have decided to do that. In preparation. Like, am I really thinking this through? So I'm going to roll a die, actually, to see if I should allow myself that fix of a move to be better prepared for this situation. And, okay, it evens one, so we will get to keep that correction move. So roll to 2. Yeah, so, okay, we're fixing that. That may be, I'll put it this way. I guess if I had not gotten to fix that, maybe that's the difference that would make the Germans lose, because we have an error marker, an error unit that's totally out of the scenario at this point that we're not going to get back and is not going to be helpful over the life of Case Yellow. And we need every benefit that we can get to take down France. So even just this slight adjustment might make the difference that allows us to squeak away with a victory. For those of you watching who maybe haven't watched everything in the previous videos, the reason why I'm so doubtful is that we did expend some resources nailing down Norway, and in particular, come on, camera, making sure we got into Narvik way up there in the north without any way for the British or the Allies to stop us. There is, I guess, a thought process of play that says maybe you leave Narvik out there and you make the Allies stick their neck out. But, this is, once again, getting into the cup game, the shell game. What is one player going to do, when they expend their resources that the other player can't? You kind of have to, the order matters. Like, who uses what and when really matters. And that makes it harder for solitaire, where I think, maybe in some other games, that factor is still somewhat mitigated because it's not so secretive of the application of resources. So I don't know. I don't know that that's a knock against the game. It's just harder for me to solitaire at the moment. So certainly there's maybe someday we'll get a little mini expansion that is solitaire bot rules or something that will help people like me, other than, maybe rolling some dice. I do think I'm getting more prepared to be able to play this opposed at some point in the future. So we'll worry about all that after this. So when I finish this training scenario, just FYI, I think I am going to do an initial impressions video. It won't be a review, but it will be, what are my collected cohesive thoughts in the aftermath of these training scenarios, where I'm feeling like I have a pretty decent understanding of the game at that point. So anyway, let's get underway. So we have the seasonal turn here. We're going to play our Case Yellow card itself properly here. So again, going through all of that, we're going to, remove those cards, not a big deal. You may select one neutral minor country and apply Declare War, 19.10. So who are we going to pick? Belgium, Holland. You're it. And just to show very quickly the counters in the baggies that I have arranged, the counters marked 22 for this card, just to show some of the ones that are really relevant here, is the ideal situation that we're able to get Alsace-Lorraine in northern France if we can execute properly and get Paris. We're also going to be getting our Scratch convoy and that additional Air Force into our force pull, not the delay pull, which is important. It means we'll be able to use these things straight up, and the seeded land markers will come in when it's appropriate. Now, here's the difference between what we've seen so far and now. So Denmark, Norway, not really much in the way of units to place. But Belgium, Holland, the Low Countries, Belgium and the Netherlands, there is an assortment of a force pool here. There's a fortress unit. There's an expeditionary cavalry unit. There's a reserve unit. There's just the Belgian army unit. And while we could kind of skip over some of this stuff in the earlier parts of the series where we knew there was just the one reserve unit for Norway, or Denmark, Norway, rather, and that was a pushover, we are going to actually have to follow the sequence of minor country activation a little more closely, because some of these units are going to come onto the board. Some of the units are going to go into the force pool, I think. It's also a question of whether or not Belgium and Holland will get mobilization. So I need to go process that, and we'll kind of talk through it in brief. I don't spend a huge amount of time on it. Just the difference here being that, yes, Belgium, Holland will actually get units on the board. We're not simply going to walk, through the marshes and be fighting the French and the British right away. There's going to be Belgians, some amount of Belgians in the way that are going to be there. For doing this, we follow 13.7.1, and basically, as we're going through this, we separate any partnership counters the minor country may have, and I think if there are any, I've already done that. They're marked with a P, and just as a understanding of what that is, like a partnership is like the minor country has a greater enhanced relationship with the major power, and it has more units involved. That's functionally what that means. Place at 0, 1, 2, and there is one of those. Reserve infantry unit in the faction's force pool. Easy peasy, easy to do. Place in the delay box any of its remaining units with delay stripes except for fortress units. Okay, so we do have one of those. We have the expeditionary cavalry has a delay stripe but is not a fortress, so into the delay box it goes. Place any garrison and fortress units it may have in the appropriate hexes with their one-step side face up. That's important, one step. And this would be for Amsterdam. I believe I have to put it in Amsterdam. There is a rule that calls it out, 2324. So just to double check that. I believe we can only put it in Amsterdam. Would we put it somewhere else if we could? Yeah, I probably would. 2.3.2.4. Where am I? The AMS fortress unit must be placed in Amsterdam. Sure is. Okay, so there it be. Okay, then place all of its remaining ground units, and there's only one, in or adjacent to city or port hexes within the activated country. All units must be placed with their one-step side face up. All placement in steps 4 and 5 is limited to 1 per hex. Okay, so we really only have the one option here, which is Brussels. This Western influence marker, I don't know if it sticks around or not. I would guess it doesn't, so I'm going to set it aside for now. I know that they're activated. I don't need that to stay there. Okay, step 6. If the minor country was activated by free passage, it was not. Place a free passage marker in the country's capital. In all other cases, Place a mobilizing marker in the country's capital. Place these markers with the appropriate faction side up. So somewhere I do have a mobilizing marker. And what this will mean is we should expect to get, here it is. Oh, you know what, that is not, I gotta find an allied one, don't I? Oh, goodness. Well, do I have to? We could just stick this over here, right? It says mobilizing. It's the Axis version of the mobilizing marker, but if I spend too much time digging around looking for the right one, we might be here for a while. So anyway, okay, so we put a mobilizing marker, even if it's the wrong one. You guys will have to forgive me. Oh, you know what? I found one. Okay, there we go. No one needs to freak out. We're going to use an appropriately designated one. This one has the Allied roundel and a red star for the Allies. So, okay, they're mobilizing. Fair enough. And now we're going to perform a mobilization roll for the country, unless it is a civil war country. Okay, well, that's not true. No coup d'etat, no free passage, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We're going to perform a mobilization roll. The faction controlling the activated minor country may roll one die. Okay, roll. We got a 3. Do not apply any DRMs. The result is the total number of mobilizations the minor country receives. Each mobilization may be used by the controlling faction to flip one step unit to its 2-step side. The controlling faction does not have to flip any unit and may flip less than the total allowed. Okay, so we got 3. I think we can only make use of 2, so we'll simply flip and flip. So there you go. We have as strong a force of Belgians and Dutch in play as we can conceivably hope to have, which is just fine. And that's it for the declare war and getting all this set up. And I believe we still do this now, right? It's when the declaration of war occurs, we have to align the minor, and all of that is put into play. Yes. Now, I don't know, do we keep the mobilizing marker out here? I don't know. I don't know when that goes away. I might have to look into that a bit better, but I'm going to leave it there, and it probably won't matter after a certain degree. Okay, so we've done that. We are now actively going to be at war with everybody in this area here. It's go time. Now we're going to do the replacement segment. So yes, the Germans are going to get 3 armor, 6 infantry. Now remember that the recipe for an armor army, Panzer army, is 2 armor steps and 1 infantry step. So we're going to have a case where maybe like we're not going to be able to just spit out 3 Panzer armies necessarily. For a full strength one, but we could. Well, let's see what's in our force pool. Well, we really only are going to build 1 full-fledged one, but we're going to be able to build him. So let me go do the replacements, and I'm going to go ahead and do the reorg. Technically speaking, I shouldn't do the reorg until after support marker placement, but this is a little bit of fiddling with counters, and I just want to get that done. I don't think it will have a huge effect on how I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do that just to get it out of the way, and then we'll talk support marker stuff. Okay, I've done that, and nothing too crazy here. We built some units on our HQ. We built a new HQ that we had available down here in Frankfurt. We did get a new Panzer army there in the Ruhr, and we've got kind of everything situated there. It wasn't a huge amount of combining to do. I also chose not to use or not to rebuild the the paratroopers. Now, is there a good reason to use them? And I know historically that there were some paratroopers used in Belgium, and I know all about that. That's kind of at a scale probably much lower than this game can illustrate well. But I chose not to. I wanted to get more infantry steps because we may have to be a bit attritional here, pounding our way into France. But I guess if I had built the paratroopers like that, could have been used maybe to, drop behind and cause retreat issues. I don't know, but I decided not to. So if that feels like a tremendous mistake, I feel like we did get fortunate in that we got our airdrop marker right away. But I don't feel like I have a good thing to use them for. I really just want to get bodies in and take the hits and be able to continue to push, and that felt more important. But I can totally see. I mean, now I'm almost talking myself into going back and fixing it. I could almost see doing it. Oh boy, do I do it? Do I do it? I've got to be careful because again, if I were to actually drop these guys behind the lines, they're not going to be in supply. So there's only going to be like a certain advantage to really using it. But is that worth a step? An extra step, effectively, or even 2 steps. I guess what I could do is I could say, well, I'm going to take this away, I'm going to take this away, and we would be effectively rebuilding these guys like this. Now, is that the right move there? Hard to say. If nothing else, the airdrop marker would also give us some shifts, so we don't have to use them right away. We can kind of, bring them up and then maybe use it in some important attacks where we really feel like we need an extra column shift to make a difference. So understanding that he gives a column shift, and you figure what, the 2 other combat attack factors that we would have on the board otherwise probably wouldn't equate to a combat shift, or probably wouldn't be the deciding factor to shift us another column on the CRT. The airdrop marker might just be really valuable to have here. Now, in terms of support markers, I don't think I'm going to use any. So right now we have 3 air units at our disposal. I think I will be perfectly fine to try to advance and knock out the Belgians, and then we'll wait to do air in another go, basically. Like we'll surge our air onto the board. That way, we can create some situations where we can really channel our retreat the way we want to, and kind of create a retreat lane out of the way of Paris. So I want to have a really strong sort of Tetris configuration attempt there, and we're not gonna send one air out, have limited effect, or get blocked by the British, and then have less later. We're gonna surge it all on at once. We'll probably only really get the 2 Air Force markers, really affecting play. But if we say put like air marker here or air marker here, and like it forces everyone to go south or get stuck on this HQ is the kind of thing I'm thinking. As the Allied player, I may not have any real ability to do much. If we use our 1 air marker on the attack, we really have limited capability to defend at that point. We've sort of played our hand. So the British are really in a very defensive position, like have to react to what the Germans are doing. Anyway, so with the support marker done, the organization segment done, we can get into the operational movement. You can imagine, we're going to be trudging through some tough terrain here. We will try to use the roads, the rail, as we can to get some guys, next to Amsterdam. Looking at the way the terrain is, like, I guess I can attack Amsterdam from this hex, because there is a land hex side. So we would expect, moving into here, having these two hexes probably focus and just get rid of that. Have a surge of forces over here and work to get into Brussels, and then be ready to rock and roll. And this would all be, I guess, in the Blitz segment. And well, I guess I got to place my Blitz marker. Oh, goodness. Okay, so where are our attacks really going to be? If we put a Blitz marker here, that'll get everybody that we would conceivably need. But then it's also a question of, do we need to place it here to force the Belgians out of Brussels? And that's a thought. And pretty much everybody that we would need to be in range of it will be in range. So I think we do put the Blitz marker on Brussels. Let's go ahead and just knock them out. Maybe that gives them an extra unit to retreat, but what it really allows us to do is be in a really good position in this one turn to start inflicting damage on Britain and France proper, even on this first go, ideally. So we blitz and try to knock out Belgium, Holland in the blitz combat, take care of all their stuff, and then still have a regular combat to start the process of smashing into the Allies. And maybe that'll be more attritional than I think it will be. My only concern would be allowing these guys to retreat back before we're really ready to hit them in a collective manner. So maybe I'm going to have to play it by ear here a little bit. That's entirely possible. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. In terms of the combat mechanics here, again, we're dealing with a very tight space, more like Poland, and this is really the only hex that matters. So we're like, can we come in here, punch a bit, knock them back a little bit, and then will it be still? Are we still going to be in a good place to knock them on the next turn and make them retreat out of and away from Paris, and we exploit into the city and ultimately end up winning the scenario? That's I guess the open question. So when and how we use those air units, I'm going to go without for this first turn and just see if we can make good headway. That's the hope. So yeah, let me take care of operational movement. I'll go ahead and do probably some of the blitz combat just to get that out of the way and show you guys where we're at before the regular combat phase. Okay, here we are actually after the German turn is up. You'll be a little disappointed in me for the regular combat phase, and I'll explain why. But we handily took Amsterdam. The blitz marker in Brussels, we very handily pushed those guys out, and we actually had done basically a DR2 and then 2 attrition losses on them. And so basically, wherever the Belgians were going to go, they were going to die. And here's the thing. They could have go, one, whoops. Gone, like 1, 2, in which case the Germans would be exploiting after combat and then maybe getting a shot on this HQ, force them to retreat, and then the Axis maybe would have stuck a armor corps in Paris, and that'd have been the end of the campaign already in a single turn, right? So we couldn't retreat through the French. That'd be a bad idea. Our only other real option was to retreat through the British and push them back, and that was still preferable to basically giving the Germans a decent shot at ending the campaign, then and there, basically. So we've advanced after combat, and now, exploited after combat as well, really, is how we would look at that. And then looking at the combat potentials for this next turn, we just did not see any good opportunities. We could try to attack here, but the thing, and I'm not sure about this, so if I'm interpreting this wrong, folks should let me know. And by the time you tell me, it'll probably be, it'll be too late, right? I'll have had to make a play decision here. this allied multinational army is comprised of British and French troops. I believe that makes this French HQ able to support it, but it just depends on the definition here. Is it truly a French unit? I don't know, because that's what matters. The HQ can only support its own combats involving its own nationality. Well, this army is a combination, and had there been a French step here, had we not combined, there still would have been a French corps there, and I would think I could support with the HQ. So it still makes sense to me that just because they're organized a bit differently, it doesn't mean that um, they wouldn't be able to get support. So I'm thinking that they can get support. So here, there's like 7 defensive factors. The Germans don't quite have enough to make a huge impact. But then here, the French have with an HQ support, would have like 13 defense factors, which, at least right now, it doesn't look good. We're more likely to lose an armor step. And then here's 5, but we're not really in a good position to make use of that there. So what we're really focused on doing is just bringing units up, getting situated, and I think the next combat phase, however we do it, is going to be more effective. So I don't know how to look at this. I guess I'm giving up a whole combat segment, but I don't feel like I'm in a good position to really do much more. I mean, we've taken Calais, which is good. We're forming up in a good spot where we can continue to move our forces forward. And then when we deploy our air, probably next turn, we should have much better, control over the environment here to disrupt the Allies. I really don't feel like, doing 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 or 3-to-2 ratio combats right now really helps the Germans. I don't see how that helps them. And so I'm just getting into better position. I totally think that for both sides, I have suboptimal setups. Like the French probably, should have drawn off some units earlier from these areas to get into Paris. So we're going to have to try to correct that, certainly. And we will do that to the best that we can. But the other thing is, I mean, we could still, even if we put units in Paris, we could still end up hitting these guys hard enough that they retreat, and we could still channel the retreats through Paris. So just getting units into Paris may not really solve the whole problem. And I found even in Barbarossa, defending in the city and not having enemies in front of the city is a better way to hold the city some of the time. So I'm kind of stuck. How can we? Is there much that we can do to defend there? But certainly, I've overstacked these hexes that more than I should have. Not overstacking by rule, but just I needed to start pulling these guys out of here. The Germans have a similar thing. Like this army doesn't need to be here. It probably should be more up here, and we just didn't really. I mean, I guess I could have, do like that, and then at least it's on a road line, and we could have done that in the operational phase maybe. That might have been better. So I'm willing to make that correction perhaps, but we'll have to see how else this goes. I think the next turn, we get another good operational movement. We deploy our Air Force. We're going to be in much better shape. And again, the British have kind of held their support markers in reserve. They're gonna hope to make a better impact trying to fend off the Luftwaffe when they start flying in earnest here. But truly, the Belgians got the British caught up in a rout, and now we're working. Had we had the French, had the Belgians retreat through the French, we'd have had a sickle cut, basically right through here. I mean, I saw it. I could see it. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. They would have been stopped by the HQ, but the Germans could have then just attacked the HQ, and if they rolled well enough, boom, game over, right? Just as simple as that. When we get to the conditional events segment, just to remind, we are getting to apply influence, and for doing that, there's not Let's see if I gotta grab the rules for this. I think it's just as simple as putting a an influence marker on the target country. Okay, yeah. So we would be targeting Italy. They don't already have a friendly influence marker, and so we would need to place one. So place a friendly influence marker in the selected neutral minor country. And then when we get another influence, we would bring them in as an active ally. So this is our first opportunity. We get to place Axis influence marker in Rome, in Italy, and we'll just play through that so we're familiar with that process. The other thing I would point out, like the mobilizing marker stipulates that you can't move or attack outside of the home country, the Belgians, but retreating, I don't think is like, it's not operational movement. And based on the wording of the rules, I believe them retreating into France is still possible. And so that's how I played it. If I'm incorrect, I think the verbiage of the rules would need to be updated because it refers to operational movement and attacking. Retreating is neither of those things. So they, based on what I could tell, they would have been forced to retreat into France, and they did so. Of course, they got eliminated immediately afterwards, but the board position was what was important here. Okay. And then, yeah, we can't do the Case Yellow event, conditional event, because we're not in Paris yet, so we would simply move on now to the Allied player. Now, for them, again, very simple. We're going to be playing the Deal plan. I think of that as dial plan, but I'm sure it's possible that's pronounced differently, and I don't hear it enough. I only read it. Requirements, blah, 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 blah. And, okay, get into the delay box. A 1-1-2 with a port-a-fort on the other side. So this would be, one of those units on the back. That might be hard to see. You see the symbol there for that. So we get one of those and an Air Force. So now the Allies have 2 Air Forces. They have been careful to shepherd their resources appropriately, and but unfortunately these go into the delay box. So that's my bad. I almost put them in the force pool. They're going into the delay box, which means we may not see them right away, which again means that the Axis still has an ability to kind of, operate without much opposition. And then we'll worry about the conditional event segment in a bit. But basically, the French are going to get an additional step, which they'll need every step that they can get. The other thing is the Allies will get a blitz marker. So we'll need to think about, so we'll flip it over. See, we got the roundel and the red star. We have to think about where we're going to place this as well. So when we look at the options card stuff, we're good there. We do have a replacement segment, and I guess that's one of those things we shouldn't forget. There's not any replacements on the card, but we do still have the strategic markers, which means the French get 2 steps. So I'm certainly going to want to do that, and just to kind of skip ahead for that, right? They're going to put something, I think, in Paris. They're going to put 2 steps in Paris, and then they'll end up reorging in combining, organizing them into an actual army there in Paris, and that will have to do for the moment. So at least we have something in there. It won't be completely empty, and it won't be an easy grab. So that comes from, again, the French war economy marker and the minor production marker, giving the French 2 replacement points on the seasonal turn. We get past that, political events, not much to do there. And now it is the support segment. So we need to think about, do we just use the British air to contest the Luftwaffe when it's the Germans' turn again? I think that may be our best option. The only reason to try to use the air marker now would be in an attempt to do a lot of damage to the Germans, and we could do that. Maybe the obvious place to try would be here. I don't know when I look at this and say, well, that's 13, 18, 20, 20 to 6, 3 to 1, shift 1 to the left, well, and that'd be 10. So I don't know. It's like, do you bother to try? Do you throw Allied steps away to plink at a measly infantry army? And if you take the hex, maybe you get a better. You can defend better in the swamp and in the rivers over here. But is that really shifting the game position? So I guess I need a. We do have a blitz marker, and that might help something. We're not going to really get a lot of benefit out of it, but we could see something happen. So let me think about this. What kind of gamble would this be for the Allies? I could actually see, let's say we put the blitz marker in Brussels, and we do a blitz combat here, try to take the hex, and then we have a regular combat here, and maybe we get lucky and we totally disrupt the French position, or not the French, the German position. It's not as far-fetched as it might sound, but and I will say that if the British were to deploy their air force right now on the attack, the Germans would simply negate it. So that's kind of putting the pincushion in that idea. But let me think on this a bit more, and we'll figure out what we can do. Okay, hey folks, I decided not to attack as the Allies, and we're actually at the end of the turn already. Basically, I use the Allied turn to move units out of the Maginot Forts down here, moving them to support Paris and the HQ. We also got an additional step from the conditional event segment to help bolster the Allied position. And really, I mean, all this is going to come down to sticking defense factors in front of the Germans and hope for lowered odds. With the attack, even with a blitz marker and this, that, and the other, I couldn't get enough points together to attack any particular German hex with enough force that would be enough to do much damage, and in fact more likely that the Allies would lose steps that would make them weaker when the Germans counterattack. So we are going to have to do a defensive hold here. So that's as much as they could do. Now, when it came to the delay segment, that actually went pretty poorly for the Allies. So I should have shown it, I guess, but I didn't. That both the Paris threatened and their finest hour conditional events were triggered by Germans being in Holland, Belgium, and France. And so that put several units in the delay box, some HQs for both the French and the British, some additional support markers. Unfortunately, on the die rolls, pretty much all of them put them, except for one infantry step unit for the French, all of them went outside the bounds of the scenario. So unless there's some way to trigger bringing those in early via card, which we've seen before, but I don't think we'll see it now, really those events are almost non-affecting the game. I rolled 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, which put them beyond the end of the scenario, unfortunately for the Allies. So what is really on the board at this point now, besides a step per turn that the French will get, the Allies aren't getting much help. And that included an air force that was going to be coming in from the dial plan card. That air force marker got put out beyond the bounds. The interceptor that the British were going to get got put out of bounds. And so it really limits the extent that the British are going to be able to affect things or put additional support markers. Not having those HQs is going to hurt because the Allies basically have one HQ on the continent. And let's see what else. Yeah, kind of a bad set of die rolls for them. But I guess there's only so many. I guess I would have had to roll 1s and 2s. Going into June, July, the units that are coming off the turn track are just German infantry multi-steps, which we have in abundance already, so not a huge help. And we'll get into the German action for the June-July turn. We've got to make some headway here, and this is where I think the Germans are going to kind of go all out on forcing retreats, executing as strong attacks as feasible to get units to retreat through Paris or whatever they can do to get in there. It is now a must. We're running out of time. We've got to make this happen. If we were to do it in July, August, that would actually make us late compared to history, I think. So this next turn is actually going to be super duper important for us to make the headway we need. So we're going to try to do that. So let me get prepared to do that. I will say, we don't have the seasonal phase, so we kind of jump right into the support segment. And so I need to think about the positioning. What I may do, because this video is getting long, and I think we're getting to the point where enough of the mechanics have been shown that really this is just all about making headway and on the attacks that we need to make. I'm going to get through as much of the German turn as I can before showing the aftermath. If we get to a really critical spot, I'll show you what's going on. But I may simply play through the turn and show the aftermath at this point because I think the series is getting a bit long. So we'll hit it. So Germans executing their big offensive to try to fully crack the French line and the French defenses and achieve victory. Okay, here we are after the German half of the turn. So effectively, the Germans have one more turn of activity left to win the scenario, essentially. And you can see we had used our air. The British tried to keep it from becoming even worse than it already was, but effectively the Germans just had the better. They had more Air Force units. I mean, that's ultimately what the reality was. So we kind of got good and situated. We made several attacks. We actually did make use of our airdrop marker here. That gave us a nice bonus that pushed these guys out with a step loss, so they got knocked back. Right around here, due to the placement of the Air Force and the order of the attacks that I performed, we actually did eliminate a great number of Allied steps. And we're still kind of clogged up, but we have at least one hex on Paris itself. And even just as we start to look at the French and British side of the turn, there's not a whole lot that the Allies are going to be able to do to attack back. So, excuse me. The air unit here helps to protect this unit. Our HQs are able to support these guys wherever, and the French really can't muster up enough combat factors to really have any reasonable chance of making a difference. We could maybe do some really wild attempts, but at worst we'd cause like a step loss over here, which doesn't really matter as much. Any number of things. And so even how we have things situated right now, what I'm going to expect to see happen is the Germans are hoping like they're going to move. They're either going to have multiple attacks here, or they're going to have to do an attack here and then here. Maybe we'll attack this once in a blitz combat, try to attrit it down a little bit, clear this, and then in the final combat phase, have an all-out attack on Paris. I feel like it's feasible that we're going to get into Paris and win the scenario as the Germans. It's feasible. I think we can achieve it, but it's still dicey. And then the Allies will certainly have an opportunity for one last Hail Mary attempt to take the city back with their own blitz marker. But I suspect that's going to be a very difficult thing to achieve. So going into the Allied turn, basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to continue to vacate these areas here and try to either get these guys in and around Paris to help protect it, and then in addition be set up to do a counterattack in Paris if we lose it. That's about all that the Allies can really do at this point. It is looking a bit grim, but if the die rolls just go a certain way, we may be able to stave off the Germans taking the hex, in which case we would achieve victory. So I'm going to play through the Allied turn. I don't think we're going to attack anywhere. I can't find a place where it looks like we'd have any chance of useful losses to the Germans. that would change the situation. So it's about keeping the Germans out of Paris. If I make a move that isn't keeping the Germans out of Paris, then it's a wasted move. There's no point in doing it. So I have to try to make that work. All right, this is the end of the turn, effectively, for the Allies, and they've made some movements. Nothing too crazy. And ultimately, the point was, we backed out so that these guys could kind of operate, move out, and then with reserve movement, we tried to get who we could get over. So we have some units backed into Paris to be as strong as we can be, with the HQ safely behind a line to throw support. These guys still here to be something of a distraction. These guys in a position to potentially try in the very last Allied action to attack into Paris, assuming it falls, which it very well could be, but honestly, who knows at this point. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. We're going to go here in the last turn, July, August. So yes, I am not on the historical timetable. I think as both sides, I've not played as well as I could have. I know folks in the comment section will maybe give some advice about what is better play and what I did wrong. And totally understanding and accepting of that, just knowing that, hey, at the end of the day, I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning much of the game systems and kind of what works and what doesn't work. Even if I'm not doing it great the first time around, I think I'm definitely getting it. So we're going to get into the German turn here, and I'm just going to try to fit the rest of the campaign in this video, the tail end of it here. So I'm going to have the Germans go. We're going to be taking our air units off the board during the return to base step, and they're going into the delay box, and we don't have any more air power right now to operate with. Did we get benefits from those air markers? Yeah, we did. They helped us a lot, but now we're having to go without them. And really, both sides have not had great delay die rolls, so it's kind of the end of the road, I think. So it's going to come down to the Blitz segment and HQ support to win the day here as the Germans. That's what we're really going to be focused on. I will do my level best to try to probably do some breakdowns of some of these armies over here to get some additional core to try to fit in with more movement into some way to keep attacking and making progress. I think the decision point that Germans will have to make is, do we try to just do we attack here at all, or do we try to find some way to do a concentrated attack on Paris itself, or what? It's going to be some permutation of this. So this is really going to be the, this next German action will be kind of the very likely the game deciding activity segment. So we're going to do support. Really, the only thing to place is our Blitz marker. That's kind of the only thing that really makes sense to place. The Allies really don't have much that they can use that's going to shift the game position at all, or very little. And so we're gonna do that. We'll do our organization segment. We'll do operational movement and combat, and we'll show the aftermath of kind of probably all the combats, because it's really just gonna, will I get into Paris or not? That's what we're gonna find out. So in a second, you'll see the end result or somewhere along the way, and it'll be really clear how things are going to end up. Okay, Germany has won, but it is all due to one mistake I made as the French. And maybe I couldn't have, well, no, I maybe would have had a chance to do this. So we smashed our way through here and penetrated the lines of the French, and we're sitting here. And the final attack on Paris during the regular combat phase was predicated on one distracting, costly attack that destroyed 2 armor core on the HQ hex, which allowed us to attack with the majority of these other forces on Paris without the HQ support, and the Blitz marker enabled us to force a retreat out of Paris as an open city. And we've taken Paris, and that's going to be the end. And we'll declare case yellow, and we'll run through that in a second. The Allies will not get a chance to do a counterattack after all, because we trigger this conditional event at the end of the the German action round. So my issue is that I left this HQ exposed. So when we burst through here, we were able to do the soak off attack. I could have last allied turn, I'm realizing, and now I feel dumb about it, but hey, got through it. When I pulled back, I could have then in reserve movement pulled back to here, and that would allow us to throw support and keep the French from retreating. And we didn't do that. There wouldn't have been an easy way for the Germans to do a soak-off attack here, not without some additional finagling, which would have been difficult. And so in slightly proper play, and we can, I mean, gosh, chalk this up to be a stalemate, guys. If it really came down to one unit being in the wrong place, you know, who knows? Because whatever results we would have got, even on 2 attacks in Paris, we wouldn't have eliminated enough steps to have taken it, because they couldn't retreat, and we were just attriting losses with the HQ usage. But as it stands, I didn't do that. I didn't see it until after I took Paris. I said, oh, well, could I have done something else? I could have. I could have been back here with the French HQ. But instead, I was here. There was a soak-off attack. The rest of these things all piled in. And, you know, we're going to achieve victory. So do I feel good about the Germans winning? Sure. I executed my offensives well, to some degree. Not as efficient as I could have been, though, that's for sure. And then I feel I did poorly as the French in terms of unit positioning, even early on, and sort of layered defense. I could have done a better job of that. But again, even the simple mistake that I made would have kept the Germans from getting in all likelihood here. So I guess that would be the thing. You know, the Germans really wanting to make sure they can attack and try to destroy the French HQ. That's kind of an important thing. They managed to keep theirs alive, and that certainly hurt the Germans' chances. But so it goes. That's the end. So we're going to execute the Case Yellow stuff, because I do want to say that, like, we did that and experienced that, because it's a good exercise to get used to. So I'm going to go to that part of the rules. And so where is it? 10-1. 10-1. Okay. We're going to follow the French line up here. So if you go to 20.2.1, Case Yellow, whole thing, blah, blah, we're in Paris. Congrats, everybody. This event cannot be applied to France if it was already conquered or liberated. Okay, so that's all good. If supplied German ground unit occupies Paris, that is the case. Or any 3 city hexes, which we would have had to really outflank Paris for that to be true. Do the following. Remove all French units and markers without a V on their reinforcement code from the game. Set aside all remaining V counters. I think on the map I actually do have a V counter somewhere. Maybe I shouldn't have that unit there. I don't know, but I happen to have him, so I pulled him onto the board somehow. So we're gonna remove the rest of these guys. So all these guys go away. I'm gonna take them off camera. All these guys go away. Bing, bang, boom. Okay. Place the British FRA colonial unit in the delay box. I have that unit somewhere, and I will put it there a bit. So that's just representing the Free French remnants. Place the German Alsace-Lorraine and Northern France seated land markers in the seated lands box. Okay, we can do that. Boom. Germany's getting bigger by the day. So we put those markers in the relevant box, indicating that we've taken control of the whole territory. Syria is created as neutral minor. We did all that. Well, we can't really do that because those parts of the map aren't in play. We're going to select one neutral or friendly minor country that shares a border with northern France or Vichy, and this is going to be Vichy here. Um, oh yeah, we do create Vichy as a minor country, so I'll find a appropriate Vichy counter somewhere and put it in there. But um, okay, now we can select one neutral, friendly minor country that shares a border and apply influence. So uh, just to show, we have influence in Italy from the previous card play of Case Yellow. Here, we would complete the circle a bit there, and just to relay that, active involvement. Activate the selected neutral minor country as a friendly minor country. To choose this option, there must be a friendly influence marker. Boop, right there. In the country, there are exceptions if pre-war is in effect. It is not. If there's a posture of Locarno or Cordon, I don't think that applies right now, and that would be for allied minor countries. And yeah, so this would be okay. Now we are bringing Italy in as a minor power allied to the Axis via this, and that is the completion, effectively, of the scenario. So, um, if we do the victory, victory check here, um, at the end, yeah. So if we went to the Allied turn, like, what do you think the Allies can do? Really nothing. So we can kind of skip past that. At the end of the July-August 1940 turn for a final victory check, so we see the Germans control Narvik. We do control Alsace-Lorraine because even though it's currently empty, right? Um, it is part of Germany now. So we control Alsace-Lorraine and Metz. We control Narvik. We control all the pertinent gray, and I guess we control this, but I'll leave this here for a second. We control all these gray Axis strategic hexes, so we're not losing anything there. And then oh gosh, okay, whoopsie-daisy. I guess we would have, yeah, in reserve movement we could have parked that guy right there. So it's not really affecting anything. Guys. Okay, we grab Brussels, we have Brussels, have had Brussels, and we're good. So we have Brussels, we have Paris, we have Oslo up in the north. So that should then be +3 on the strategic stuff, in which case we have just to show there, Axis tied 1 victory point for being +3 on the strategic hexes, and that in victory accounting is a Axis victory. If we had failed to take Paris there, we'd be in the hole by 2, and it would be Allied Crusade, and we would lose. So a critical mistake made by the French placement of their HQ that really could have gone either way. I feel satisfied getting to the end of this campaign and saying, like, hey, really, we managed to practice a lot of different mechanics. We learned about the Narvik situation. We still executed the campaign. The challenges that the Allies have as France are different than the challenges they would have had as Russia. There's its own sort of situation to untangle here in Case Yellow. I think we did a pretty good showing as the Germans either way. But still, this campaign, I mean, the end result could have gone either way, just due to the last sort of desperate defense around Paris and the attempts to keep the French from retreating out of that area. I can still think of different ways that this could have gone, or the attacks could have been executed in such a way that would have allowed us to maybe destroy that French HQ early, and then we wouldn't have had to worry about it, and taking France would have been easy peasy. Lots of different things we could have looked to do. It just went different ways fundamentally. So with that, we will call this to close here, folks. The Fall of France scenario complete. We learned a lot along the way. If you're also new to the system, I hope this was helpful for you to learn. Please read the comments section. It is being filled with great knowledge and advice from people more familiar with the game. We can all learn together. It's a fantastic experience so far. So thanks once again to Mark Ruggiero, who's been watching, to Mark Hanna, to Max, Maybe I'm forgetting somebody as well, but all those who've been involved in the comments, really, really helpful, very much appreciated. What I'm going to be doing next, between this and whatever else I do, is I'm going to do a first impressions video about what the training scenarios that we've experienced so far. Technically, there's still a Daisenso training scenario that I don't have ready to be set up because I don't have the Pacific map out yet. But I think I've experienced enough to want to talk about the system, how I feel about it. I had some strong feelings before I started. I want to talk about what those feelings are now and my general assessment of what I've seen in the system so far. So please look forward to that video. It will be coming soon. And in the meantime, hope this was, again, a very valuable series for you. We're going to keep going. I mean, I guess I'll spoil a little bit. I think after the first impressions video, I'm going to try a bigger scenario. I'm not going to do a full campaign yet. There's a one map scenario called the Great Crusade that I think would be fun to try that and see how it works with the Allies on the offensive and coming back into Europe. So I'm probably going to do that after we do some impressions talk here soon. So anyway, see you in those videos, guys. Take care. Keep gaming. See you later.